Okay, so today's session is going to be about how you can improve the UI UX of your Power Apps application. We will look at different aspects of the user experience, the interface, and Power Apps, and how we can leverage to create some really nice looking applications. Because I'm a strong believer that it's not enough to create applications which work, but you need to make sure that applications are easy to use, very intuitive and enjoyable to use. Um, so a little bit about myself. My name is Samir Daoudi, as I said. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the business applications area, specialized in Power Apps. I've been working with the Microsoft technology stack since I remember, more than 14 years. I started with C Sharp, SQL Server, DBA, and quickly moved to SharePoint, where I spent a big part of my professional experience using SharePoint. I probably touched all versions of SharePoint from WSS3 all the way to SharePoint Online. When Power Apps was before it became known as Power Platform, when it was announced around end of 2016, beginning of 2017, as we were told at that time as a replacement of Infopad because it was going to be deprecated. I got really interested in Power Apps, and I've been working with the Power Platform in general since that time. I try to blog on a regular basis about new stuff that excite me, any solutions to problems which keep me awake. I like to share those on my blog, Suntech365, and you can reach me on either LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm more active on LinkedIn, to be honest with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So, what we'll be covering today. So, first thing, we will look at Power Apps controls and how you can use out-of-the-box controls, what best practices or recommendations we will give you around these, especially around the branding and the colors. The second part will be the responsive design. Look, even if you are not meant to create a responsive application, or the stakeholders say that the application that you'll be creating is not supposed to run on phones or tablet, I would always recommend build for responsive, because if your application grow and it becomes quite large in terms of number of screens, and then there is one simple requirement to make it responsive, that can turn into a nightmare. So always think responsive, even if you are targeting one platform. Things may change. And they will. Next, we will look at a couple of examples how you can leverage Power Apps custom components to create things like progress bar, tabs, collapsible panels, navigation menus, gradient backgrounds, and so on. I need to highlight here that we will not be doing any coding, no React components. I will not be using the creator kit. So just use out-of-the-box controls, how you can make them look nice and create some really nice looking interfaces. And finally, we will be covering the Power Apps modern controls. So we look at these new controls. Well, I'm not going to talk about that right now. So this is the agenda for today's session. So let me share Power Apps screen. Where is it? Should be this one. Right. So the first thing we said we'll be looking at is Power Apps controls. What you see here is an application which I have made available in GitHub. It has a lot of components that we'll be covering, and it has different screens for each one of the topics. So you can download it, play with it, have a look, and use any controls you like. So the first one is Power Apps controls. If you have used Fluent UI or any other tool to generate themes, you know that it's always a good idea to create a theme as a global variable. So what I suggest here is even if you have a requirement, and it always starts small. It always starts with, oh, can I have simple application which does X, Y, and Z? Very simple. Maybe you can knock 2 or 3 screens to create your application with a couple of controls. That's totally manageable. It's easy. You're excited about that. You deploy it, and then your application keeps growing, because when people see the application, they have new ideas and they get excited and they start throwing more and more screens. And now, before you know it, it becomes unmanageable. So even if I'm starting with a very small application and I know my company has specific branding, I have, let's say, 2 screens with a couple of controls, I always want to put the theme in global variable. And probably best practice would be to let's create a theme, put it in app on start. You can define all your colors here. As you can see, I give you this screen which allows you to change the colors and maybe kind of apply the colors you want. And you get all the controls that you have out of the box. Let me pick some colors just to show you that. By the way, this is the nice site where you can get some amazing CSS and grade. So let's say I want one of those orange colors. So You can try until you're happy with the theme you want to apply, or maybe replicate your company theme. But basically, you got something like this. Put this in screen probably, which won't be your which will not be your first screen, and you can pick those controls. The idea is you can get in more detail, but what I'm showing you here is that you have primary, secondary color, you have things like for button, you have the fill, hover fill, press fill, different properties, and you create a collection. It could have been a variable where you put just those values. So you have the name of the property and then the color. And now you have different controls which get their properties from this collection. So it's always lookup collection theme where the title is chevron dot color and so on. So you have those controls. You know that if you want to change, you can change in one place. You have this collection. You put in app on start, and basically all your screens now reflect your branding or company branding or theme you want. This is very simple. Probably is the first thing you would do. Again, don't think that you wouldn't need it because your app is a very simple, very small application. Things will evolve over time, and it's always to be ready. So better to be ready. So. Yeah,
exactly. I can't be more agree with you. Yeah.
So this was the first part. I don't know how you want to do that.
Before you jump on to the next app, can you explain what does this app do in general? So it's a simple app. I know that it's a simple app. You mentioned it, but can you explain it a little bit more about it?
So this app I've put in place just for the purpose of this session. So you can it will help me to explain every part of it. But I have other GitHub repos where, for example, if you go to my blog, you see something about the progress bar, which is one part I'll be covering down the line here. So this is just to show you what we have here and the use of those components. So you can download this app if you want to see how we can create a theme. Maybe you can copy the code here. Basically, this is just a demo app.
Perfect.
It doesn't have a business
use case. Okay.
Use case, yeah. I can show you some real examples later if you want. I have HR, I have help desk tickets, where a ticketing system, and other applications that I can show you where I have applied most of those things that we'll be talking about today, and you would see the end results here.
Love to see them. Perfect. Perfect. And by the way, that would be great if you can put your GitHub
in the chat.
Link to the chat, so that everyone else can use it and check your contents, great contents that you put there.
No problem.
Perfect.
No problem at all. Yeah. Right. So this was the theme, how you can easily style the out-of-the-box controls in Power Apps. That's first thing you would be doing. Next is the responsive design. And as I said, most of the cases you start with let's have desktop application, which allows to submit, I would say, incident report. And everyone is excited about that. And by the time you deliver version 2, 3, and the app is quite big, now there is a simple ask from the stakeholder saying, make it responsive. I want it to be used on tablets and phones. This would require a lot of work, especially if you have not put these thoughts at the beginning. Basically, most of us will just go start working on the screens, put the controls in place, and never worry about whether the application is responsive or not, if it has not explicitly been asked to be responsive. So I would say, even if you're building for desktop version, make it responsive. Always use different tools that you have available, and trust me, it's very simple. When you get that habit, it becomes it makes life much easier. So when you create new application in Power App, out of the box, it's not responsive. So you get this toggle here, scale to fit, which makes the app look really ugly. It's basically your app will stretch to fit the entire available space in the screen for you, and that's not what I want to do. So if I was rendering this application on an iPad like this, you would see that the app will look really ugly. So the first thing you would do is turn off this feature. In my opinion, it should be off by default, but that's fine. Now we have an application which renders and try to fills the entire space available. So now if I want to render my application, I would see something like this. So if I'm working on a tablet, it's something like this. Now
looks much nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's switch quickly to a phone layout, right? So we have this phone layout where I have this is like 3 containers, 1, 2, and 3. Note that here we have text which says this container is only visible if the screen width is larger than 720. And you have a grid which contains 6 columns. These can be like help desk tickets. So category, status, assigned to, due date, and so on. Now let's flip the phone vertically. Now you see that when I flip the phone, I have only two cards or containers on the top, and my grid turns to be just to be showing just 3 columns instead of in the large layout 6 columns. Yeah. Right. How did we achieve all this? Now, if we go back to phone and tablet layout, that's fine because we have plenty of space either way, or horizontally or vertically. But we will be probably more concerned about smaller screens. And in the meantime, I will open something, guys, just to show you in real life. Okay, right. Right. So to enable this sort of behavior, you have 2 things. So you have first to use containers, and it's always a good idea to group objects in containers. And there are 3 types of containers. So you have the horizontal and vertical containers. These are obvious, so you can stack them or align the items inside the containers either horizontally or vertically. And you have a normal container. I would say this is kind of a custom, a floating container, which you can put anything inside, doesn't enforce any sort of alignment. So what I've done here is that I have a horizontal container which contains 3 normal containers, I would say. So let's look at what we have here. Here we go. So you have container 2, which is this one. It contains 3 containers inside. You have also the property of setting gap if you want. That's the gap between the containers. Otherwise, they will be kind of stuck to each other. So you can set gap. You can have some padding just to give some room from the top, bottom, left, and right. Otherwise, it will be something like this, which is not great. Let's be honest. So I always tend to give the same value as the gap in the container. You get some really nicely centered objects inside. Now, out of the box, this horizontal container enforces that everything you put inside, no matter how many objects you put inside, in my case, I have added 3 containers, they will split the space available between them. So I have 3 components here, or 3 containers. They will all have 1/3 of the space. So they will be equal in terms of the size, and they will split what's available. If you don't agree with this, or maybe let's say you want something more, let me show you. If I added a 4th container, you will see that they will be squeezed, and I get this progress bar because I have set the minimum width of those containers to be, let's say, 200, something like this. So now, if I have 4 items, they will take 1/4 of the available width. Right. Now, let's say you want something specific, and for container 1, I wanted to take double the size of the other. So if you look here on the property side, is the zoom all right? Do you want me to zoom in a little bit?
If you can zoom in a little bit more, that would be great. But yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So now if you look at the properties of the items inside the horizontal container, you get this first flexible width, which means I want this to take 1 of the count of items available, so 1 of 3 or 1 of 4. If not, let's say I want this to be 500, and whatever is left is shared between the other 2. You will see that this will take 500, and the others will be squeezed down. Now, that's not what we want to do, so let's keep it flexible. If I wanted container 1 to be twice the size of the others, I will put, you can think here in terms of columns, right? So you have 3 objects, you have 3 columns there. So it's 1 of 3. Now let's say I want this to be twice. So it's 2 of, now I have 2 columns for container 1, and 1 for container 2, and 1 for container 3. So it's 2 of 4, or half the size, plus these will be 1 of 4 and 1 of 4. Yeah, 1/4. And that's what you get. Let me go back to
So you have quite a few options to manage the perfect the width of these containers.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. And you don't have to calculate or do some parent.width divided by something or do some calculation. Just use container, and it takes charge of everything. Now let's go back to 1/4 or 1/3. So they're equal in size. The rest is pretty simple now. where is it, the height? So yeah, in terms of the height, I have selected that my container will expand, so that's fine.
May I ask a
Sure.
question? I just was thinking about having adding another container to the first item. So
Yeah.
for the first column, we have two containers below each other, one and then one another below that, and then have two others at the side.
Yes, we can do that. So basically, to have two containers stacked on top of each other, you will use another type of container here. So basically, this will be a vertical container, right? And it will contain two things. Let's use the exact same. What is the height? Minimum height. So it's going to be parent.height divided by 2 minus maybe 20 or something like that. Let's see if we have a height property. Yep. Height. I'm not gonna put this at 200. Let's say 100. Just want to show you because this screen. Yeah, something like that. Minimum height 50. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. That was so fast.
We need some space here, so they all look the same. But now the good thing is that you don't have to move things around, because you can't just drag and drop as you would have done in normal Canvas app. Now you have to come either right click on the container and say, okay, move this to the beginning. Now I have something like this. I still have a background underneath, but let's say I don't want the drop shadow. Okay, and let's put this. Where is the height? Be 100. All right. So you get something like this.
Awesome.
And they all look properly kind of adjusted. And in terms of sizes, I don't have to do any calculations.
Perfect. Right. Looks so nice.
Yeah. So now let's look at the third one, where we say this is only visible if the screen width is larger than 720. If you have done some CSS styling in the past, you know that you can look at media and the screen size and show and hide certain things based on the size. I'll be doing the same thing. So let me just revert this to the initial. So it would be, yeah, that's fine. And if it's 250, maybe it's too big. Yeah. So very simple. Because we have three containers here, I will go to the third one and set the visible property to simple condition. If the app.width is greater than 720. So container 3 is always visible if the screen size is greater than 720. When you go to a mobile device which has a smaller screen, less than 720, container 3 will not be visible, which means that the horizontal container we have on the top will recalculate the objects inside. Now container 3 doesn't exist anymore, or is not visible. So it will split the container 1 and container 2 spaces. It will split the entire space it has between container 1 and container 2. They will not take 1/3 as they used to, even though the formula was saying 1 of 3. But because I have made this one invisible in smaller resolution, these will expand and take half of the space available. Does it make sense? So if I go to the mobile device, let's take a large one, 14 Pro, whatever. Why do we have progress a scroll bar now? I think because we have set the minimum width to something. Yeah, minimum width. We don't need to have. Right. Here you go. So now container 3 disappears. The space is split between 1 and 3, 1 and 2. Does that make sense? We have some questions in the chat. What happens with mobile options? Can you show how it displays? Here you go. I hope this helps. So this is how this app renders in a mobile device. Now in a tablet where we have more than 720, it's fine regardless of the layout, so horizontal or vertical. But when you go phone layout, you get something like this. So container 3 disappears entirely when you switch to the vertical view, where you have less space for your application.
And we have the scroll bar to scroll left and right, right?
Left and right, no, because that's not a good user experience. You have only, usually when you are using your phone, you always scroll top to bottom. So we're not scrolling. If you add that, it will be lots in terms of user experience. So they may have to scroll horizontally and then vertically. In terms of user experience, it's not really great. I mean, most of the apps you have on your phone, you scroll bottom to top or top to bottom. So you rarely use left to right.
Got it. So we lose the third container, right?
We will lose the third container when we switch to. I mean, that's the condition I've added. I just said if the screen width is less than 720, don't display this one. So we lose it. Usually, if you look, usually you have in terms of mobile applications, usually in the screen you have less options, less feature to interact with. It's kind of a light version of what you can do in the desktop application. So this is something where I have applied this concept. This is an HR application, self-service application, where the users can come and do things like look at how many days left they have. They can submit new leave requests and so on. If you look at this thing here in the middle with the light background, where you have total number of days this year, how many you have used, how many left, and so on. If I switch this layout to horizontal, we will have a lot of space horizontally. I mean, if you look here in the top, the first line, you have the logged in user and job title. You have some space here. So this line where I have the progress bar, number of days, could not be fitted here. But now, when I flip the phone horizontally, now I have a lot of space. I've taken that and displayed it in different format here, and you get the same layout. This is the list of your leave request. You can update your profile. You can submit new leave request and so on. You can even interact with the Copilot from here. Let's say you have an HR chatbot which you can use to ask anything about HR leave things like policies and procedure. What's the name of the app? No, this is HR 365. It's custom app I'm building. It's custom app. It's not.
It's not available for everyone to use, right?
No, not at the moment. I may put the skeleton of the app and the screens and GitHub for people to use, but it has some connections to company data source and things like that. So, but yeah, I would put the empty screens in GitHub for the users to use. Now let's have a look at the grid and how we made that display from 6 columns in the large layout to just 3 columns. If you're looking at the data here, you just probably need to see the ticket, category, and the status, and then you click on one of them. It takes you to the detail. You can squeeze and fit everything in small screens. Basically the same condition. So again, in terms of the grid I'm showing or the table, let me go back to canvas size. What it does that, right? Maybe window size, right? There we go. So you have a gallery, which is this collection here, gallery, and then you have a header on the top. The header is just, again, another horizontal container because I don't want to worry about where I would position each label or each column. So I'm a big fan of using those horizontal and vertical containers. So the first one is a horizontal container. It has multiple labels, and they share the space available. So they are equally adjusted inside the space available in that container. Same thing inside the gallery. So you have one button which is on top. It gives you this hover effect. Basically, you don't have the hover effect in the gallery. You have just something which I'm not really a big fan of, which is this thing transition, where you can either push or pop the item. So it gives you this effect. But I like to show which item you have selected. And the idea is I would always put a button on top which has transparent background. And when you hover, it has also a color with some opacity, some transparency here. So it gives you this kind of select effect or hover effect. Anyway, it has also a line, which is a rectangle. I don't know why in 2024 we still don't have something called line in Power Apps. Anyway, so it's container. It's a rectangle of 1 pixel height. So I squeeze that to be just looks like one line. Anyway. We have inside another horizontal container which displays our data, so that's fine. These things here, and as you can see, I can combine labels and other containers. I can also have buttons, and regardless of the control type, they will share the available space. Now, in the mobile view, we are saying that we will not display user status. I think status we do user assigned to and due date. Okay, this one, and the last column. Same thing. If you look at those columns, user assigned to and due date, they have the same formula as this container, only visible if the app.width is greater than 720, and the respective gallery, I would say labels, or labels, will have the same condition, and that's how you make the screen responsive, and you don't have to worry about where this will be rendered. Okay. Right. So far we touched on very basic stuff, things that you can do out of the box. Now let's move to something a little bit more interesting, and that's how we can use how we can create custom components in Power Apps. Again, as I said, if you are a pro developer, you can build your own custom components with React, and it may be quite difficult to deploy them based on your company policy. But let's see how we can combine the things that we have available in Power Apps and create something new based on these. So first thing, progress bar. One other control, I don't know why it's not available out of the box in the Power Apps controls. There is no such thing as progress bar. So what I have done here is that I have created a couple of components which take 3 parameters. You have the max, the actual value, and then the label. And based on the parameter you pass, these progress bar will show you where you are, and the label, I'm just doing that automatically, but I can say test progress bar, and it displays a text inside the progress bar. You have 3 types of progress bars here. You have a plain background where you have like solid color here. You have a gradient color, and then you have a one with an animation.
Animation in background. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And can you explain how did you put the label formulated? So when you change the value, it automatically updated the label.
Yeah. So what I've done is that I have created some custom components, and custom components, you can do that next to your screens. You can come here. You create a new component. You can pass parameters to your component, so you can use the custom properties. Let's say I can pass a text, a value. You have different data types that you can pass. A component can also return some values if you want. Let me get rid of this one. I'll show you something, a real example. So let's say the progress bar. So this progress bar takes 5 parameters. These are custom properties. Var radius, which is how rounded the progress bar will be. So if I come here and change this to 20, it will be very rounded, or if it's 0, it's kind of rectangle progress bar. Okay. It has also value and max, which define the progress bar. You have the var text, which I'm passing as parameter, and that goes in this label. And you have the color you want. That would be the fill color of this bit here, the purple. If you think about progress bar, it's very simple. You have a border, and you have something inside where the size is calculated dynamically, and you have text. What I have used here, as you can see, I have one container, which is the outer container. So what do you have outside? We have just a border. So what I've done is that I made this container transparent, so it doesn't have any color, or maybe it has a gray color or something like that, and it has just a border. Right? That's all we need. It has a border radius property, which is coming from the parameter of this component. So it's the name of the component, progress bar dot var radius. So that will be applicable on the outer border, or you can look at it as a border of the progress bar, right? We have a label which takes the entire space. It sits on top of the progress bar, and basically inside this container we have label and another container, right? So the label is always on the top, and the width is going to be parent.width. So what's parent.width? If I don't want to recalculate the width of my objects, I can say the label will take whatever the parent object width is. So I want it to be end-to-end of the container outer, so it will expand. You get that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Now, the other container is where we display the actual progress. And basically, we do some little bit of calculation here. The width of this container inner or the inside the progress bit is going to be calculated based on the width of the container outside. So let's say container outside dot width or parent dot width is 100%. Okay. So if I look at the width here, it's parent dot width. Okay, that's 100%. Times, I will take the two values that I have passed. I have passed the value and max. Okay.
Perfect.
So if I divide the value by max, let's say 30 divided by 100, it's 0.3. Now it means that the container inside is the size of the outer container times 0.3. So it shows me like 1/3 of that space. So if I go back to the value here and say 75 and look at the formula, what we have here, this is 0.75 times parent dot width, which is this one. So it gives you something which looks like progress bar. To be honest, it's strange. It's strange why we don't have progress bar out of the box in the classic controls and Power Apps. Yeah, but you have to. You can create your custom controls and you can reuse them. The good thing about this is that when you style it or define it once, let's say I want all the text to be something like this. Let's go a little bit crazy. Okay, so my label. I don't think that was the one I have used, but yeah, you can style your component as you want and you can reuse it. Let's say com progress bar. Where is it? There you go. Yeah, division by 0. I've not yet set the values, but you get something like this where you can change the color. All right. I want the text to be just font, something like that, and the value will be 10%, something. Yeah. And you get your progress bar. Because I have not set the values of the elements inside the component to be static. So if you look at the size of this container outside, the width is parent.width minus self.x times 2. Why did I use self.x times 2? So self.x is where the objects start in the screen horizontally. So the space I have from the left. I want it to be always properly centered. So if you leave 10 pixels from the left, it should be also 10 pixels from the right. So now if I change x to, let's say, 20, as you can see, it's properly centered inside my component. What this means, as you can see, now I have an object like this, but my progress bar is now if I want, I can change the progress bar as I want. I can change the width, the height, everything adjusts properly, right?
Right. Can you zoom in a little bit more? Sorry.
Of course, yeah.
Perfect.
Right. How about these gradient and animated? The calculation, the logic is still the same. So if we look at progress bar, not this one, background, as you can see, they take same radius, value, max, text, and then you have two things, color 1 and color 2, because you have a gradient. You go from one color to the other, right? It's exactly the same. We have a container outside, you have a label which displays the label you want, and then you have container inside. That's the actual progress. Now, instead of having specific color like this one, which if I look at the container inside, it has a color coming from the parameter of the component. Now I have something different. I have another object inside, which is an HTML control. And if you go back to this site, basically the link is also in this app somewhere. I think it's in the gradient somewhere. Yeah, you have the link here to this object. But if we go back to the site, you can find some really nice gradient colors like this. Let's say I want to take yeah, the blue, for example, or maybe this one. If I say, okay, I like this one, and this goes from this color to this color. All right. I want to use some gradient background. So what is HTML text I had? Yeah. So inside the container, I said we have an HTML control. Don't worry about the syntax here or anything like that. If you've done some HTML and CSS in the past, it's very simple. If not, you can just copy the component and use it as is. But basically, we have one div, okay, which has a style of background image, and that's linear gradient. It can be circular, it can be anything. And the height and width is basically, it stretches. So height is self.height minus 2, width is self.width, and it doesn't have any margin. So kind of one div which fills the space available inside the container. The container width is calculated by a value and max, so that's fine. It's the same logic as the other one. What we have new here is HTML control. And let's say I want to show you that. So we have color 1 and color 2 here. I can pick, let's pick these two, for example.
So, sorry, Samir, to interrupt you, but can
course.
you please zoom in on that formula that you just showed so that
Of course, yeah.
participants can check the details?
This one?
Okay, yeah.
This is just
possible
a div.
to zoom
It's
in?
okay.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm using the mic, so yeah, here you go.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so it's first we need to specify the style, background, linear gradient, var color. Okay, perfect. Var color 2.
So the only thing, the only thing important here is that instead of hard coding the colors here, you will get them from the property of the component. Because let's say I don't know anything about CSS. I've never used HTML or CSS. I want to use this control. You have a link here which says copy CSS, right? And what that gives you, it gives you something like this. So that's all you need in terms of, you can say, okay, in terms of the style, background image. And now you can see that it goes from this color to this color. Now I want to pass these as parameters. This is why I said, okay, get them from component progress bar background.var color 1, and the other one is var color 2. The rest is just to make sure that my div is stretching and taking the entire space. So if I get rid of this one, if I want it, okay. Okay, I have closing parentheses, that's fine. What do we have here? Yeah, we need to define the height and width. So I need to specify some values. So they could have been like 20 pixels, and the width would be, I don't know, 100 pixels, and margin 0. So you get something like this. I wanted to fill the entire space. So the size of the div is whatever available space we have, and that's inside container. So that's the container inside. So just a div which fills the space. Now, if you wanted, let's say, to use something like this, you have your progress bar. You have two colors. You can define them here, color 1 and color 2, and you get something which replicates this gradient here, but in the progress bar. A typical example would be where you go from, I don't know, let's say you have a rag indicator and you go from maybe red to green or something like that.
And you can specify the direction. Is it need to be from left to right or from top to bottom? Is it possible?
You can, but these are horizontal by progress bar, so they always go from left to right.
Left to right.
But you can define, specify differently. So what I'm trying to say here is that just by leveraging the existing controls you have in Power Apps, not importing any third-party components or React or doing anything crazy, you can create some custom components which you can reuse in different places. I need to speed up a little bit. The last one is the animation, and it's just another trick. Basically, there is no animation or anything like that. It's just an image which I have put inside the container, this one, and I made it stretch. What's this? Yeah, let's see the properties. So the width is the container.width, the height is container.height, and the image position fill. So it kind of fills the entire space. What's this image? It's a simple GIF image I got from the internet. Not that crazy, as you can see. So just a trick which creates something which looks, in my opinion, quite nice. Anyway, next one, step bars. This is very helpful when you are, especially when you have large forms and you want to take your users through a journey where they, step 1, do something, step 2, step 3, and so on. So they fill different parameters, different information in kind of wizard style. So let me show you another app where I have used that in real life. This one as well. Anyway, so what do we have here? We have a set of steps. Okay, so step 1, step 2. I've changed these last time, but you can set values. Let me fix this quickly because I have changed it and saved the change. Let's say step 1 is personal details. Step 2 is emergency contacts, payroll, let's say, something like that. So this is in case we wanted to create a new employee, for example, in the HR system. Okay, so you have different steps. You start by capturing the personal details. You have the job details, emergency contact, payroll, and so on. It's similar to progress bar, but this is step bars where you show the user where they are in their journey. And where I have used that, not this one. Yeah, don't worry about the background color. I know it's horrible, but this is the real example where I have used that. An HR application, sorry, an HR application where you can create a new employee. You go through a wizard where you go next, next, next. It's more enjoyable for the users to use instead of giving them one big form which contains everything, and it's quite scary, right? So you create you capture the person details, the address, role, payroll, bank details, and at the end you have the onboarding tasks which say create a mailbox, generate the access card, and these will trigger emails to other people. And I would say, me personally, I hate filling large forms and working with the complex forms. So I like going through wizard. Before you ask, I'm doing the save on the last step. So there is no save here. It's just increasing the step number. So it shows me it goes to the next level, next page. But what we have here, the containers that you can see, because we're talking about that, let's talk about real examples. Here we have 6 containers, one for each step, right? Container add employee underscore 1, 2, 3, all the way to 6. They're all set to the same position, X and Y. They're on top of each other. And what I'm doing here is that I have one parameter, which is the current step I'm using. I'm in. So when I open this screen, it defaults to step 1. So that's the step I'm in. So the current step is 1. When I click next, what happens here is that I increment step, right? So step 2, step 3, all the way till the submit button. Now these containers here, for example, container add employee 1 is only visible if you are in step 1. When you move to step 2, container add employee 1 disappears, and now the second one is appearing. So I'm kind of simulating that wizard view, but basically that set of containers stacked, and you have one variable which decide which one is shown to the user. At any given time, it's only one of them. Here, container add employee underscore 2 is only visible if step equals 2. And here on the component I'm showing you, it takes 2 things. It takes the list of a table of the steps, okay? So person detail, address, role, payroll, bank detail, and so on. And it takes which one is the current step. That decides what to show here. So basically, if I move, this one becomes green, which means I've completed that, and I'm in address here.
It's kind of similar to what we do with bookmarks in Power BI. If you're familiar with bookmarks, we kind of save something like a screenshot of the current situation, and we say, if that happens, show this. If not, hide this and show the other one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly. So these 2 components both take the same 2 parameters. They take the current step and the list of steps. The list of steps has been passed as table, so you can pass your steps here. There's nothing stopping you from adding another step. If you want to use those components, as I said, you can download the app which has everything, and you can say, okay, last step is, let's say I want to add another step, which is approval. And here we go. Now, division by 0, anyway, because I was changing that. Now we have an extra step. So they are very flexible. Exactly, navigating to pages. Yeah, exactly. Navigating to pages, yeah. But we are not going to any other page. We are still in the same page and just showing different containers. Yeah. Right, so let's dig quickly into one of them. It's the same logic, so I will go to pick one of them. Yeah. So this one, progress. What do we have? It's just a gallery. Basically, it's Power Apps gallery. This is a horizontal gallery, so it displays all the items horizontally. The data, as I said, you have 2 parameters. You have the var art steps. This is typo, and var current step. So the gallery takes the data source from com steps.var steps, which is this table of my steps. And inside the gallery, we have 3 things. We have the circle, we have the label, which is underneath, and we have a rectangle, which shows the line. Every time I say rectangle for a line, I hate it. Anyway, so I had a couple of dynamic things here. So first, let's look at the circle. The color is driven by a condition here. So we say if the current step is greater than this circle step, which means that, let's say we are in step 3 and this circle dot step is 1, which means we have already passed that. We set it to green. Now, the else statement would be if it's the current step, okay, if var current step is this step, that's the active one. I think I set that to yellow, orange. If not, which means it's less than that, it's gray. So you get something like this, where if the current step is this 4, this is orange, and everything before that will be green, and anything after will be gray. Label, we don't have any formula there. That's fine. Now, the line. We need to make sure that for the first item, our line starts from the middle, and it's just the way you position those items. If I bring it to the front, you see that it's just a line. But I've put the line under the circle, so it gives you this sort of continued
disconnected lines.
Yeah. Circle
it feels like it's disconnected, but in the background they are connected. It's one line. Okay.
Yes. So the first item, the line should not start from the beginning. So if you look, this is the column. This is the column we have. The line starts from the middle. Everything after that, the line takes the entire space, right, of the column. And the last one, it starts from the beginning and stops at the middle. It doesn't expand all the way there. So there are two things we need to change: the x coordinate and the width of the line. Okay. So let's look at the x coordinate for this line. I'm saying if this item dot step equals 1, which means if I'm the first item, start from parent dot template width, which is the column width, divided by 2, means start from the middle. Otherwise, start always from 0. So column 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one always start from 0. Okay, so we just change the x coordinate of the line. We say if it's first one, start from the middle, otherwise start from 0. Now, what's the width? The first and last item have half of the width of their columns. Anything apart from that, any items in the middle, they will take the entire width. The difference between template width and width, when I say parent.template width, it means the gallery.template width. Template width is the width of the columns. If you have 6 or 7 columns in your gallery, that's the width of each column. If I've done parent.width, that's the width of the entire gallery. That's wrong. Right. So what's the width of our line? If step is 1, or the step equals the count of the steps, which means it's the last one, because we always start from by 1, not by 0 here. The width will be parent dot template width, which is column width, divided by 2. So for the first and last item, the length or the width of the line is half of the column. Everything else is the entire width of the column. And because we have combined that with x, we say for the first one, start from the middle. The last one start from 0. You get something like this. It's just an extra touch I've done just to make it. Probably I could, if I was, could have said something like this. This is not something you would want to do. You could keep it simple, say always start from 0 and take the entire space, but doesn't look that nice. Anyway.
Got it. Perfect.
Right. Okay, collapsible panels. Again, something which is very handy in Power Apps Canvas application, and I don't know why does it exist till today, but sometimes you may want to display some help guidance or tooltip or something like that in a collapsible panel. So you can have something like this, right? So don't ask me about this guy. Everyone comments about him, but let's say typical IT support, giving you some help. Right. So you get something inside, some content. In this case, it's an HTML content, formatted content, and name it. And I want this to be like a collapsible panel. So what do we have about a collapsible panel? What's a collapsible panel? So it has a state, whether it's open or closed. That's all we need to know about. And that state drives the height of the container, of the collapsible panel, and which icon I'm displaying here. So let's have a look at the code. The icon. When I click on this icon, and I know I could have written this differently by saying var help accordion equals not var help accordion, but just to explain what we're doing, we are switching from true to false and from false to true. So as simple as that. So we have a variable called var help accordion, which is the status. If it's true, we set it back to false. If not, set it to true. Okay. That same variable drives which icon I'm showing here. So if I look at the icon, property, I'm saying if var help accordion, show me the chevron up. I mean, if it's open, show the chevron up. If not, show the chevron down. Just using different icons, and these icons are coming from what you have here. Okay, so you can pick them. Now the last thing, inside we have container which has another container. That's fine. So the last thing is that the collapsible panel height is defined by this property. Okay, if it's open, set it to 550. If not, set it to 48. 48 is enough for me to show exactly this. So if I had another value, let's say if I said 52, it wouldn't look. Oh, probably 52 is not that bad. Let's say if I said 80, something like this. But you would think about something which is properly adjusted. So I said, yeah, 42. But basically, that's it. We just changed the height based on this variable. Right. Navigation menus. We are running a little bit late here, but navigation menus. I will try to be a little bit quicker. But if you have any questions after this, you can contact me. This is
of course.
two levels.
I think that. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Samir. I think that our next session will be started with a little bit delay, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So I can say that you have around 8 to 10 minutes left. Yeah.
Perfect. So these are two examples of navigation menus. The one on the left side, I mean, both have two levels menus. So you have the parent items and you have the sub menus. So this is HR navigation, employees, list of employees, new employee, leaves, things like that, request, forms, and so on. And the second one is a ticketing system where you have tickets, new tickets, work in progress, my tickets, configuration, and so on. So both have this kind of cascading. Sorry, guys. Should have put this on do not disturb before we start. Right, sorry about this. So we have this cascading or kind of nested items where you have the sub items being under the parent items. In both cases, we have an icon, we have a text, and we should have actions where when you click on the menu item, it takes you somewhere or it does something. The only difference between these two is that we have here a line which gives you like that tree view, like you had in the Windows Explorer, if you missed that. And on the second one, we have this vertical line, which shows you the active screen you're in. So this is the help desk ticket system. If I go back here, just to show you the usage of that. If I'm looking at the tickets, these are the list of tickets. If I go to the settings, you see this thing here shows you which active page you're in, right?
Yep.
And so on.
Vertical white line at the right-hand side.
Exactly. So how did we do that? Both menus. So we have two types of menus, and you can pick and use them. Now you know how you make the gradient background. So if you pick one of the menus, so let's say navigation, this one for example. Now we looked at the gradient. So to make this menu with the gradient background, what I'm using is that I'm using one. We have a gallery for the menu items. We look into that, which has the gallery is transparent, doesn't have any background. Underneath the gallery, we have an HTML text which has our colors, the same as we saw with the progress bar, right? So you put the HTML under the gallery. Make sure the gallery is transparent. If I want to go back to solid color, I can do that. So I pick solid color. But if you want to use the HTML for transparent background, sorry, we can make the gallery transparent, and that reflects the HTML gradient. Now, what do we have inside this? Let's look at the properties first of this. So this menu here takes a table of menu items. The menu items look like this. Okay, so each item is a record which has a title. That's the text being displayed. ID is unique identifier of the record. It can be 1, 2, 3, ABC, whatever. And then you have ID parent, and that's what decides whether it's a parent item or a child item. So anything which is at the top level has an ID parent of -1. As you can see, tickets is also -1, and it has an ID of 1. These are inside the tickets top menu. So they all have ID parent equals 1. So it's this one here, right? I have an entire blog post about this, how you create I can share that later, how you create the structure with also an Excel to generate this. But basically, you define your items like this. So title, ID parent, the icon is an image from your application, and the screen is where you want to go when you click on that icon. Let me quickly go back here. So as you can see in the tickets, what do we have? Or under configuration, for example, let's do configuration. So go a little bit up. Okay, configuration. Here we go. Configuration has an ID of 2 and ID parent -1, which means it's top level. And inside configuration, we have categories, ID to 1. It can be anything, just unique thing. Make sure that the ID parent links it to this one. So it gets kind of nested under configuration. This is the table of menu items that you'll be passing. I mean, if you want to use this menu, you download the components, you see those examples as well. And we have bar email. Don't worry about this. This is just to show the logged in user. So that was from a real example what I had. So the same item. So let's say this example here is for the IT team, where they receive tickets and they can interact with them. They can look at the details, look at the attachments. They can add notes. They have timeline of the tickets. When they have notes added, ticket assigned, they can assign them to someone else. But that's fine. This is kind of the backend. The same menu has been used for another purpose, which is for the end user. So basically, the end user can come here and say, okay, I want to create a new ticket of type, I don't know, I have problem with OneDrive for Business. You can type your ticket details. You get Microsoft Copilot also embedded on the site. Try to say, before you submit ticket, maybe I can help you with that. Say, how do I share a file from OneDrive? I don't know if it can answer something like that or not. And I'm using also progress bar here to show you where you are in the wizard. Even though we have a couple of controls. Oh, basically it comes with a result. Okay. Select the file, right click, share, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't need to put a ticket anymore. But what I'm trying to say is that the same menu has been used and rendered differently. The only change is that I have passed a different table menu properties here. So here I'm using table menu user, and the others I'm using table menu. So we have two types of menus which are set on the app.onStart. So table menu for the admins, and another one, table menu user, which is just my tickets, resolve the tickets, and so on for the users. Right, let's dig into this quickly. The gallery, what do we have in our gallery? Where is the gallery? Here we go. So in our gallery, we have the container. It could have been a rectangle, this one here on the far right. I had an image before inside the container, like an arrow saying you're here, but I thought it's an overkill. Let's just have one light bar, and that's enough to show which screen you're in. You have the image, so that's the icon we have here, and you have a button. That's all we need. Now, what changed between the parent and sub menus? So the parent items have large images. They start from the far left, as you can see when there's a hover on the buttons, where the sub items have smaller image, and the button starts is a little bit pushed to the right. So if you look, this one starts from just before the image, yeah, and this one same, but it's it gives you that nested effect. So it means that the size will change, the X coordinates as well will change. Okay, let's have a look at what we have inside the gallery.
Sorry to interrupt you, Samir, but we have our next presenter here. So that would be great if you can wrap up as soon as you can. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem. I mean, you can download this application. You can play with it. It's very simple. There are also other articles on my blog where when I'm talking about each one of the components in details, progress bar, navigation menu, and so on. But these are, you can use them as you want in your application. Finally, I've used the gradient background in different places. So these are user cards that also you can use. These are components where you just pass an email address and you get a different rendering of the user profile. So you can have image, name, and job title, or just image, and so on. Finally, modern controls. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of modern controls because they don't give you the level of flexibility you would want. If I wanted to change the colors here or anything, as you can see, everything is driven by a theme. They have some nice controls, don't get me wrong, and the thing I love the most is the date picker and modern controls. But if you don't want to get down the line of using different CSS styles and thinking about the position, you can just create a custom theme and make, when you apply it, all your items will pick from this theme, so they will all look the same. As I said, if you have any other questions, any thoughts after this session, ping me on LinkedIn. I will share the link to my to the application. It was shared with the group in Dubai. But anyway, I will share the link in the chat in the next hour or so. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking a little bit longer than I should.